Thank you so much for being here. This is such a privilege. I've been a fan of the lead dev organization and content for so many years. It feels unreal to be here. So I'm here to talk about my experiences as a recovering people pleaser. Disclaimer, this is going to get really personal. So a little bit about myself. My name is Nikita. I grew up in South Asia between Nepal and India. I grew up with an older sister, a very talented, very beautiful, good at everything older sister, often living in her shadows. I grew up in a world where it was completely acceptable for strangers to come up to me and comment on my body, casually fat shame me, or celebrate me for having lost weight or how fair-skinned I was looking. I grew up watching my mom, my grandmom, my role models often sacrifice things for the sake of others, their partners or their in-laws, or us, their children. I grew up watching my parents argue a lot. And I grew up queer, closeted, in a society that's predominantly defined by heteronormative relationships and standards. A lot of my lived experiences made me feel not wholly accepted as me. I've learned over the years that my need to make sure everyone's doing okay, that people like me, that everything is tied into neat little bows, comes from a deep-rooted fear that I will not be accepted for who I truly am. There's a great deal of research out there linking people-pleasing tendencies in adults to experiences they might have had growing up. So let's ask ourselves, what does people-pleasing even mean? And here's a definition that I find really all-encompassing. People-pleasing is when we suppress and repress our needs, desires, expectations, feelings, and opinions. And we do this sometimes to gain things like validation, approval, or love. Or we do it to avoid certain consequences like criticism, conflict, and even in some cases, abandonment. So the first step in my own personal journey has been really to even understand how I suppress and repress my own needs. So I'd like to present before you 10 things I hate about myself. But really, keeping in the spirit of this talk and self-love and discovery, these are 10 things that I've gotten to know about myself, and knowing them alone has helped me immensely. So I feel the need to make sure everyone's doing okay, even if that comes at the cost of my own needs. I say sorry all the time. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying sorry for. I avoid conflict probably as much as anyone here might. But the word no, we have a love-hate relationship. The word no is inherently anti-Asian. In a society built around the collective, the word no is too individualistic. It's merely a hindrance. So, in the context of my work today, I say yes a lot. I overcommit even when the task isn't particularly interesting for me or I don't have time for it. Social approval, validation, please give that to me. But don't be too nice or because that's uncomfortable and I can't possibly deserve that kind of praise. Ironically, my therapist tells me all the time, Nikita, you don't need to convince me that you're okay. So as I was writing these slides, I definitely felt the need to add some emojis and some exclamation marks and tell you, my audience, who I pretty much lay all my trauma on, and we did just meet, that I'm doing okay. But really, I'm doing okay. I have a fantastic life. My wife's out there sitting in the audience. I live in this amazing city, Berlin, where individuality is not just accepted, it's celebrated. I have a life that I could only have dreamed of having. And a lot of that has really come down to knowing myself and identifying my patterns and really unlearning the things that I have internalized. So, in all my research about people pleasing, I've come across several patterns. And in preparation for this talk, I have categorized them into these 4 digestible, hopefully memorable buckets. So if there's anything the people pleasers in this room leave here with today, I hope it's you having identified or recognized your own patterns reflected back in one of these personality types. So first up, let's roll out the carpet for the one and only, the validation seeker. This is the one amongst us that cares deeply about what others think of them. They adapt based on other people's preferences, and while their radar for social cues is commendable, sometimes they get lost in the echoes of external approval. Let's give them a proverbial round of applause, but remind them that their worth isn't just in the claps they receive. Next, we spotlight the invisible martyr, the silent warriors, tirelessly toiling away without seeking credit. Their dedication is legendary, but at what cost? They're the embodiment of all give, no take. Let's give them a little cheer and remind them that self-care isn't selfish. Now, let's turn to the peacemaker, the lovers of harmony, the smoothers of rough seas in the office. While they're a balm to fiery situations, their aversion to confrontation sometimes sweeps important issues under the rug. Let's celebrate their harmony-creating skills, but nudge them to face the music when needed. And last, but certainly not the least, we have the load bearers, the atlas of our working world, carrying burdens with stoic resolve. They're dependable, highly responsible. They're perfectionists, but even the strongest pillars need support. So here's to our load bearers. May they learn that sharing the load doesn't just lighten their burden, it strengthens the entire structure. So there you have it, folks, our 4 people-pleasing personalities, each a hero in their own right, but wait for it, not without their kryptonite. Sorry, I got caught up in the theatrics. So imagine, if you will, a vivid scene and day in life of the people pleaser in the world of tech. We have here a feature launch, a meeting, a gathering of all 4 people-pleasing personality types. The situation is that the team has been working on a feature for about 8 weeks and are now working on their go-to-market plan a month ahead of the planned release. Attendees include Alex, the product marketing manager, has many years of experience, but is eager to please his boss. Jordan, the customer success manager, works with several big enterprises, often supporting and liaising with them, cares deeply about not hurting anyone else's feelings. Masha, our tech lead, doesn't like to be put on the spot and isn't good with conflict situations. Taylor, our product manager, a perfectionist, finds it really challenging to let go. So first we have Alex. He has serious doubts about the feature, but his manager is personally invested and thinks this is the next big thing. Maybe it's their AI feature. Alex enthusiastically agrees, disregarding that niggling feeling in the back of his head. Turns out it isn't that useful of a feature, and the return on investment for the launch isn't there. Who gets blamed for the poor performance of the launch? Alex. Meanwhile, Jordan has it on good authority that the big enterprise isn't particularly happy about the feature direction and has said some really harsh things about it. Jordan decides that the people in this room will be so disappointed and hurt with that feedback. So Jordan decides to soften the blow and sugarcoat the feedback. The feature continues to progress as planned because the consequences aren't completely understood by the team. Several weeks, the feature has been released. There's little to no adoption, so they decide to discontinue the feature. But if we're being realistic, the feature just uselessly lives on for the rest of eternity without being touched ever again. Let's take a different situation. Masha, she's leading the initiative, technically. She has very little confidence they'll actually finish in 4 weeks. She doesn't want to raise it because the product manager snapped at her before. And he'll probably say that Why didn't she raise it even earlier? So, lo and behold, she doesn't say anything, and it's 1 week before the launch, and there's still scope remaining, and 3 major bugs need fixing. The launch has to be postponed. It leads to a lot of wasted effort. Lastly, a situation that I've often seen outplay in reality. Taylor, the product manager, who always has a lot on their plate, doesn't quite trust Alex. So they decide to do the press conference organization and the social media posts, things they're not qualified to do. The outcome is really that Taylor has way too many things to get done. The deadlines have been missed for several checklist items, and Taylor needs a vacation. Taylor always needs a vacation. So this is just one example of how the people-pleasing personalities can manifest in a complete company-specific context. You can imagine that people-pleasing can be a hindrance on the individual level as well. For example, the validation seeker who jumps on the bandwagon for a hyped tool or process, only to realize it doesn't actually work for that team. It just leads to an erosion of trust and wasted work by the team. The invisible martyr might go for a lower salary expectation than they had in mind during a job interview because they didn't want to make the recruiter uncomfortable. The peacemaker may not be comfortable sharing direct feedback with an underperformer on their team, inadvertently hampering their development. And the load bearer may think that they want to protect others from hard projects and fail to delegate. But really, all that's doing is gatekeeping interesting learning opportunities from other people. So now that I hope you can recognize the patterns and various ways in which people-pleasing shows up at work, let me ask you all a question. How many people in this room would self-identify as a people-pleaser? Okay, that's quite a lot of us. I think it's only human. Let's talk about how to overcome it. So a conversation about people-pleasing is incomplete without talking about the B word. No, not that B word. I see some of you, my fellow therapy goers. I think you know where I'm going. Let's talk about healthy boundaries. So boundaries are rules or limits one can identify and create for themselves that help create a good balance between one's own needs and the needs of others. And what does healthy look like? That really differs from person to person in their own context. The first step towards identifying what your boundaries are is to create self-awareness and understanding. So have you ever asked yourself how you want your ideal response to a challenge or a team conflict to be? What about your time boundaries? Are you okay with working 40-plus hour weeks? Ask yourself how you want to deal with disagreements and diverse opinions. What about your energy boundaries? Be deliberate about the kinds of work you want to spend your energy on. Do they align with your goal and the vision you have for your career? Once you've understood what good looks like, you can start to create ways to achieve that goal. And I'll give you my own example. 5 years ago, if my product manager had come to me and asked me to prioritize a feature and deprioritize tech debt items that had already made it to the roadmap, I would have said, yes, fine, we'll make it work. What I realized about myself, however, is that I find it really hard to formulate my opinions and thoughts in real-time situations. I get really flustered. So I decided to put together a delay script. For example, hey, let me get back to you when I have more information. Or, hey, I haven't quite formulated that thought in my mind. Can I mull it over and get back to you in an hour? So I physically remove myself from that situation altogether. Now, having practiced various ways to decline such requests, I feel very comfortable to say no and put mine and my team's needs first. So, if you're interested in understanding and setting healthy boundaries, I'd recommend reflecting and creating self-awareness first and foremost by journaling or getting a coach. Then identify small steps to get there, like creating a delay script, a no script, establishing a personal routine. And lastly, be aware that boundaries shift all the time based on your personal context. So, reflect where you've come from by reading your past journals, mapping your boundaries again, recognizing signs of, feeling uncomfortable with the situation, and then evolve them for the future based on what your new goals and priorities are. So, we've met our cast of personality types. Let's switch now to ways in which we can equip them with strategies and tips to transform their challenges into strengths. So if you find yourself often seeking validation, remember your worth is not defined by others. Start by celebrating yourself. Lean on the people you trust around you who give you honest and open feedback. Remember that data is your friend. Lean on it to make hard decisions and advocate your point of view, and avoid falling into the yes person trap where you just say yes to other people's opinions. Embrace feedback, and definitely don't forget to share out validation and praise for the rest of us who also need it a lot. For those of us that resonates with the invisible martyr, it's time to step into the light. You deserve recognition for your contributions. Start by making them clear and visible. Create that celebration post in Slack. Start sentences with, I was really proud of myself this week or today. For example, I was really proud of myself today for having gone up the stage at Lead Dev and talked to a lot of industry experts about a topic really close to my heart. Thank you. Create and maintain a document if you need to. Remind yourself of the value of your efforts. Recognize when you're feeling fatigued from taking care of everyone else's needs, and prioritize yourself by doing the things you enjoy. If you're a peacemaker, your ability to diffuse a heated situation is a much-needed skill. But let's also empower you to embrace healthy conflict. Start by practicing and role-playing those difficult scenarios. Lean on written communication. It is your friend. Give yourself space and time to formulate your responses. Do it on a doc. In conversations, seek to understand, but also to advocate your own point of view. And remind yourself of what you might gain if you embrace the discomfort. To our load bearers, you are the backbone of so many projects, but let's ensure you're not carrying more than your fair share. Learn how to delegate, clarify what the expectations of your role is, learn how to say no, but most importantly, learn how to let go. Go on that vacation, Taylor. Everything will be fine. So, as our explorations here tonight come to a close, I want to remind ourselves that the urge to please, it can be a really big strength. It shows our empathy, our dedication, our commitment towards the things we do and the people we work with. Let's pair them with some self-love, compassion, and a little bit of courage, and turn it into, from being a challenge to being a gift for us and the people around us. And thank you so much.